I wanted to do an extra problem here to kind of help you on a question on your test. It's similar to problems number 4 and 5 on your study guide, except you're going to be given different information. So if I gave you the center point again as -3, -5, but I didn't give you the radius as 5, instead I gave you another point on the circle. So I'm not going to use the same radius. I'll just make up a point on the circle. Let's say the point on the circle is 5, -4. I'm just making that up. So this is a point on the circle, and we're given the center. And you're still asked to write the standard equation of the circle. Well, we know this is our h and k value, but we don't know our radius. So the first thing you're going to have to do is find your radius. And you can find your radius either using the distance formula or you can use Pythagorean theorem, whichever one you want to do. Okay, so let's look at the distance formula for our radius. You remember the distance formula is the square root of the change in your x squared plus the change in your y coordinate squared. So if I put those numbers in to find my radius, I have my second x. Let's go with this being our second point, so it'd be 5 minus our first x. So we're subtracting a -3, so that becomes +3 squared. Our second y is -4 minus our first y minus a -5 is the same thing as +5 squared. So now I have the square root of 5 plus 3 is 8 squared plus -4 plus 5 is 1 squared. Remember, if either one of those had been negative, you would need to put them in parentheses and square them. Anytime you square a number, you're going to get a positive value. So you won't ever get negatives underneath the radical here. So we have 8 squared is 64, 1 squared is 1, so we have the square root of 64 plus 1, which is the square root of 65. Now remember, this is my radius, but when I use it in my equation, I square it. So when we take the square root of 65 to find our r squared, we're going to square that. And the squaring and the square root cancel each other out. So our r squared value is just whatever's underneath the radical there, which is 65. So now I'm ready to find my equation. I'm going to have my x minus h squared. Oops, I didn't see that was off the screen there. There's my work that I was talking about. In our equation, we have x minus h, so x minus -3 is x plus 3 squared, plus y minus k, so y minus -5, again, is y plus 5 squared, equals the radius squared. So the radius squared is the 65, not the square root of 65. That's my radius. The radius is the distance between the point on the circle and the center. That's our radius. So that's what we found the distance between those 2 points for our radius. And then squared it to get our r squared. So this would be the equation of the circle with that scenario.